Let us test something out together. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here from that doing to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And fun fact, here we are to do a review of chapter 253 of God of Thunder. That's not what we're reviewing. Chapter 253 of Sakamoto, which is known as God of Thunder. And this chapter was, yes. Now, I did say, we're gonna try something intriguing. So let me start this 15-minute timer right now, and let's talk about this chapter. So, this chapter on a whole is realistically a whole... It's crazy to think, because I don't think Shishi was going to be involved in the final fight. I really don't. Just like I think Osaragi's final fight did actually wrap up last week, we're probably not going to see her fight in anything again. I really don't think either of these two characters are going to be relevant by like the last fight with Uzuki. But this whole chapter is literally a glaze off. They're going glaze for glaze, band for band, and unfortunately Gozu can't win. Gozu can't wait. How you get the whole chapter named after you. How you get the chapter called God of Thunder. First deific name drop in the series of watching now. Because my glorious, handsome, legendary Juicy King Sakamoto has a crazy tale of his own. But regardless, this whole chapter is essentially Shishiba just being absolutely goated to the point where Gozu literally has to drain the entire city. Bro actually got tempo diffed. Like, do you know how insane that is? Because this whole chapter is a mix of crazy choreography, interesting utilization of powers. But one of the most insane things is that Gozu immediately runs out of power, right? Last chapter was showing off that Gozu has this core in his chest. The electrical powers that flow through him are literally based on a battery system. And he literally used up all that power because Shishiba just pace dipped him. Brody out stamina dipped him. And that's already when Shishiba had been taking damage and Gozu is presumably amping himself, right? Doing his best to the point where he would burn out all his power. So, yeah, Shishiba's just like that. In fact, it's very interesting because I'd say Sakamoto Day scaling is kind of... I'm gonna say it's kind of vague. Like, it's not the most solid out there. Obviously, you have certain characters who are obviously at the top of the verse. Current Sakamoto. I think, like, presumably, he is just number one, like, all time now. So, like, yeah, Prime Sakamoto, current Sakamoto, Nagamo's up there as well. And then, naturally, Uzuki Mura. Takamoto was top one for a while, but then, seemingly enough, he has gotten surpassed. I'm not sure. You could make arguments for, like, Takamura against current Prime Giga Monster Thikamoto, but it seems like Takamura was, at least for a period, the strongest in creation. And because of that, we only know really the top, and, like, have a vague idea of the bottom. But Shishiba has consistently been glazed now that I think about it, and this chapter is just more of that. As we see Gozu do everything in his power to take Shishiba down, but Gozu literally admits, I fortify myself with electricity, and this guy's just keeping up with an ordinary body. It's like fighting Gaku. That's actually really, really interesting, because Gaku is, Gaku! That man got literally detonated forever ago. I know people are still holding out hope for his return, just like people, myself now, I will admit, I'm holding out a slight bit of hope for a hypothetical Tenkyu return. But that being the case, Shishiba getting this level of glaze from Gozu is nice, and it also is nice to get some general scaling context of where the heck everyone even is in the verse, because it's really, really vague. But speaking of really, really vague, we get to see that Shishiba just has Gozu's number, which hasn't really been vague, but it's kind of been hinted at. Gozu just isn't really comp for Shishiba, even if he is able to damage him. Notably, one thing that I'm not entirely sure of is whether or not Gozu's using the lightning speed mode or whatever, because it's unclear. He is aura farming like crazy. He did cause a literal mass blackout in the town by draining presumably the main power system, or at least a majority of it, right? Obviously, he charges up to 100% here. That's his whole goal. But I don't know if he actually, like, drained the entire city or just went to this specific transformer and then jacked everything up. These things can happen. Blackouts do happen for all kinds of reasons, like a squirrel chewing on a particular power line in the wrong place at the wrong time, bada bing, bada boom. The squirrel explodes, and then the entire town's infrastructure explodes. But in this case, Gozu does massively power up, and then hit this. And I will admit, in terms of sheer aura, like always, Gozu's design is immaculate. It's jacked, it's juicy, it's delicious. But I still feel like he doesn't really do much to Shishiba. As he says, I felt that last attack, and instantly blitzes Shishiba. At least you would call it a blitz if it was, you know, actually a blitz. Because you see Shishiba standing here, hand in pocket, after literally admitting, ugh, traffic light. I don't see well in the dark. Well, no, he admits it after he gets hit, but still, he still reacts to the hit, right? Gozu, in fact, goes to schmicks him. I just realized this. This is what happens when I try to experiment, man. I miss things. That's why I like to go slow. But then again, I miss things even when I go slow. But with it being the case, we see Gozu hit the schmicks on Brody, walk forwards, then hit him with the high-low mix-up of Doom, and Shishiba still blocks, tanks it, and takes very minimal damage. Full power Gozu, right? Full power drain, literally everything Gozu, and Shishiba takes minimal damage and just pops out the water. But with it being the case, we see Gozu does force him to pop out the water, or else he would have been electrocuted, as Gozu's sheer electrical output and aura is enough to have Shishiba dodging out the way. And I guess this technically is a nice calm little feat in terms of reaction speed for like lightning speed, Sakamoto and stuff like that, or at least lightning timers for the verse, because Shishiba is in the water. Then by the time he notices Gozu's also in the water, and naturally water, at least not purified water, so like this water here, is a fantastic conductor of electricity, and Shishiba managed to get out without actually being tagged at all. So Shishiba, once again, sort of kind of making that lightning timing stuff consistent. Remember, Shishiba shouldn't even realistically be top 5 speed-wise in the verse. He should be like maybe top 10. So for him to be able to dodge this electricity that's propagating through the water as quickly as he does, to the point where he doesn't even get tagged by it, very impressive. And I will admit, I do really like this piece of artistic design here, where you get to see all the individual fish rising up as they're electrocuted, and Shishiba has no choice but to retreat. And then we see, because Gozu is releasing so much electricity all at once, he actually does manage to power on at least some of this area, causing the lights to illuminate this building. And we see Gozu smiling at Shishiba as he is dripping a little bit from the nostrils, as Shishiba goes, "Bro, I'm so sick and tired of fighting you. Why am I wasting my time on this bomb? I need to go check on my wife." But overall, I'd say it's a pretty W chapter. Now, in terms of the specific details of it, though, I think the one critique I do have for the chapter is still, it's still like, it's a universal critique, mainly for these, like, is it late game? Do I call them, I guess they have to, these late game antagonists, right? Gozu, while he definitely is by far the best of them, I think now at this point, at least for me, he has surpassed Kipe. Kipe actually did have a crazy run, and I'm actually wondering if we're going to see the end of his fight. We probably have to, right? Amane and Seiba are both Maifuyu and Natsuki are both very, very popular characters, so, like, I presume we're gonna see that fight. But that's the thing, even with all we've gotten from Gozu, as a character so far, I still can't entirely say I'm invested in him beyond how much I like his design. And that's very intriguing, because Sakamoto Days somehow, and I do mean somehow, really made me like Haruma. And Haruma existed for like a fraction of screen time. Like, he has what? One major fight against Shin, which he does technically win. But Gozu, man, I don't know, he just doesn't necessarily hit so much as a character for me. I think it's because he's specifically locked in a battle against someone he isn't truly comp for. Of course, this whole continuous nature, especially in God of Thunder specifically for the chapter, it's trying to push this narrative idea that, oh, well, you know, Gozu and Shishiba are actually, you know, relative, and this actually is a dangerous fight, but I just can't buy it. I don't know, it's weird. Like, in a different way that I could, well, actually, no, I wouldn't even say the different way, because I did buy Nagumo versus Oki. And as much as Oki is built into the narrative retroactively by being the leader of the Old Order, Gaku is technically also built into the, not Gaku, Gozu, 2G characters. Gozu's also built retroactively into the narrative thanks to his connection to the Alchemar kids, but it just doesn't hit the same. I don't know. And it's crazy because Shishiba is taking damage, right? I'm sort of clowning on Gozu for just being a consistent pillow puncher and not actually doing any serious damage to Shishiba, but he does actually manage to do a little something, you know? He does shock him here. He does put a little pressure on. Even Shishiba does admit that Gozu's shocks are annoying and they are throwing off his tempo a little bit. But outside of that, it's not really doing much. And Shishiba's consistent ability to react doesn't really sell what I feel like Gozu was supposed to sell. And it's that idea of being a proper speedster. Of course, it's not like Shishiba's running at the same pace as Gozu or attacking at his same speeds. But the idea that Gozu, one, wasn't able to put any serious damage on him while he was outpacing him, and two, is actively being noted to lose pace-wise to Shishiba is really, really, really unfortunate. And I think Gaku would have definitely, not Gaku, I keep saying Gaku. Man, they bring up Gaku once, my brain is like, oh, man, I miss Gaku. And I know we miss Gaku body, we gotta focus. I think Gozu really would have benefited from a fight against someone of decent relevance that he actually won pretty. But then again, Haruma didn't have that. I don't know what it is. Gozu's just missing a certain bit of sauce as a character, which feels really weird to admit because he has the sauciest design in the series. I love his design, and I actually really like his power set because, you know, shock horror. I really love electricity powers. But with that being the case, it just doesn't hit in the way that I feel like it should. And I'll say this end point in the chapter, right, where Gozu, by simply being around, accidentally powers the entire light facilities for this building. Sorry, dazzles the eyes, huh? It does, but I think that's the issue. Unlike someone like Haruma, who had a gimmick that helped like further characterize him, I'm not sure, outside of like the occasional, well, obviously his design and the occasional electrical pun here, I feel like Gozu's main gimmick, one, just isn't that effective in the same way that Haruma's gimmick was effective against Shin in their one major fight. And two, it isn't so well built or integrated into his character that it makes up for a lack of other characterization. And the only hints we sort of had at other characterization contradict a few little bits of characterization we actually had for Gozu. The idea that he would actually question and go against and possibly not align himself with Uzuki was an interesting idea. Cool story, bro. Not happening. And that's the issue here. Gozu feels a little bit too hollow and a little bit too disconnected from the narrative that's been going on so far. I think that's why I'm feeling rather, because I don't want to think I'm feeling negative towards Gozu. In fact, I'm obviously leaning towards positive. I glaze this man's design literally every single chapter he appears in. But I don't feel what I think I should feel. And I'm not even going to entirely blame that on stakes. I was initially going to be like, well, maybe it's just a stakes thing, right? Like, I just don't believe that Shishi was going to actually perish to Gozu. So then I don't really find myself able to invest in the fight. But that's not entirely true. Because, like, I know Shin was never going to really ever lose a fight. Or at least lose his life in a fight. But I still got invested in Shin fights. I still get invested in Sakamoto fights. Well, relatively. But, like I still have battles in the series that I get invested in, even in this late game. I literally was just invested. You saw me during Naguma vs. Oki. I was locked in, twin. So I don't know what it is about Gozu, other than maybe the fact that he just feels a little bit too hollow. But, like, what? Like, unfortunately, he feels a bit too hollow and a bit too disconnected. And I think that's why he's not getting the same Haruma effect. And what's specifically coming to mind in regards to Shishiba in particular, he doesn't have the Yotsumoto effect, right? Because what Yotsumoto versus Shishiba did, what makes that fight so amazing, isn't just its amazing choreography, right? Because this chapter has really good choreography too. From the immediate lunge in to Shishiba, I was gonna say flickering? I don't know. Deflecting the attacks, the Shishiba's weave, specifically Gazu? Lord, I'm fusing them now. Actually be a cool fusion, but Gozu punching through the hair and then sending sparks through him anyway. Shishiba going in and kicking him into the side. The pace, the way the electricity circles around, like, it looks so cool. In the same way that Yotsumoto versus Shishiba look cool, and in the same way that, like, every single Dogma fight ever looks cool. But I think the difference is, since these two characters have no real direct ties to each other, and Gozu himself doesn't feel like that complete of a character, you don't get any further build. Even when we barely knew anything about Yotsumoto, but he started to battle Shishiba, we knew that he had trained and taken Shishiba under his wing. That was enough. That added that extra level of proper character integration and character investment into the battle. Right now, I have to ask you a question. Beyond the motivations of, oh, well, we have to do this for our respective side, why are Shishiba and Gozu fighting? You tell me why? I mean, you could say that maybe Gozu wants to run back, or Shishiba wants to run back for the fact that they didn't off each other the previous time. But not only was that a battle taking place in really extenuate circumstances where one character was not taking things seriously, the other character was already battle damage from a stronger character, I feel like that one doesn't really count. And the motivation behind this hypothetical rematch doesn't hit as hard as it should. And Gozu doesn't hit as hard as he should. Both as a character, and just quite literally, I feel like he should have done at least a bit more damage to Shishiba. But overall, I'm still leaning positive, right? In fact, I'm still going to give the chapter worthiness. See, that's the unfortunate thing. The thing I'm testing right now, it does not recognize the sword. Hold on. Yeah, it doesn't recognize the sword because it's not a word. But, I don't know. The main reason I'm testing something right now is because there is seemingly, not even seemingly, I hear it. I hear it, but notably when I edit, I don't have it high enough to typically note it. There is a ringing or buzzing sound in the majority that's out all my videos. I'm not sure if it's the mic or like just the area I record in. I don't remember this being a thing before. So I am currently testing something. And obviously the other thing I'm testing is the 15-minute review style, right? I want to see how this does, how long it will last. I don't know. You guys know I really like the app, but in this case, I want to just do a little bit of experimenting, especially since I do want to bring other things back to the channel. So, how would I rate this chapter on a whole? I'd give it a solid 6. Well, actually, I know, I really like the choreography. I still do like the characters involved. It just doesn't hit as much, but is that this chapter's fault? I don't think so. No, the art's good. The character interaction itself, while it is still a little bit hollow, because these characters don't really have too much of each other, we still get a nice English! A nice Gaku reference, which is nice to see. Yeah, I think I give the chapter probably a 7. I'll give it a 7. Because, like, the only thing is, the 3 points I gotta take off is just, I don't feel anything really reading the chapter. And I think that's an issue that is pretty bad for what is presumably one of our final fights, right? Because we only got like 3 more left. But of course, I am out of time. So if you've been all the way to the end of this video, please do me a favor and leave just too flashy in the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. Remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe, and make sure that link to notifications so you don't miss out on any videos on the channel. Also, please let me know if you can still hear the buzzing thing in the background while I use this. If it is still there, it may just be the mic, and in that case, I will just go switch out the mic. But if it is, like, just the way I record previously or something in my environment, which I'm using this currently to try and suppress that down, let me know. There's that. But also, you can be a Patreon member for as little as $1 a month, or you can be a patron for as little as $1 a month, or become a member for as little as $3 a month. You get early access to all the videos I cover and review and create, and you get your name at the end of literally every single video. If you're a $3 member or $3 patron, how you get your name at the end, listed and read aloud at the end of every single video I create for both channels that got the reaction and this channel here that got the pencil. Also do my Twitch that got the controller down in the description down below, where I stream every Friday at 8 p.m. ES Tizzle. Feel free to roll through. And I do have my Ko-Fi down below, where you drop 5 videos a short video, 20 videos long video, or any means at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now I want to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, Astro, Glacier XZ, Zera, J2MA, Buddha Ura, Yuki Ally, Grim, Ollie, The Boy, Corey Watson, Damon Brown, Tim Thomas, Kaving, ORXN, Logan Guzman, Dead Mean, Keon Stewart, DNA, Edwin Ingbignova, Straw, Antavius Mitchell, Superflame Zero, Weary Exile, Alex Kenny, Todd, The Practical One, Landon Clapwick, Heath Nelson, CAET, Plant Crone, Blast, Brandon Payne, Black Sage, Multi-Batman Superman, Zalims, Joe Bean, Sleepin' John, The Young Family Pastel Pandora, Mosity King DKG, Andreen Bonnet, Akolare Babatunde, at JDog2656, Union Eye, Funny Dude, Athenzi Shear, Magic, Sino King, Sheesh King, Aswin Heriprasetia, JMB KD, CCC, Enzo, Kitty Liddy, Drold Harris, Dino, Victor Jacobs, and Axis XC. Then, let me thank you to our line art tier patrons: A+A, Dread Zoan, Kevin the Encarnacion, Lil Kodo, Midnight Lord 21, and Sean. Then I'd like to thank you to our Ink tier members: Shrimpo the 4th Shrimp 06. Then I'd like to thank our digital art tier members: J Warrior and AZ Void. I'd like to give a final thank you to our colored art tier patrons: Walkie Munoz and Walkie Munoz.